even though I know there might be some people running late. But thank you all for coming very much. I really appreciate it. I know it's difficult to make a 6 o'clock on a weeknight. So I'm Marianne Schultz. I'm the Auckland advisor for Danz Aotearoa in New Zealand. And if you haven't, we have a little sign-in sheet at the door, and also we have some of our magazines you can take away with you. Also put some brochures for the Tempo Dance Festival, which I'll talk about in a minute, and also some flyers for Atamira. So please do take things on your way out. So this evening, this is a series that Danz has initiated this year called In Conversation with Choreographers. And the idea behind this series is to place choreographers, people who write with dance, in the same environment as visual artists to talk about the dance-making process. Because I think sometimes it seems a bit of a mysterious world for people who are not familiar with what it is that choreographers actually do in the studio. So that's the idea behind this series. And some of the ideas that we'll talk about tonight and in the future with other choreographers is just, some of the influences that people work with, how they get their ideas from movement, the development of their own movement vocabulary. And I guess the big question for me I really like to talk about is, well, why dance? And why this art form in the 21st century? So, tonight we have our lovely guest, Jack Gray. Thank you, Jack.
Hello.
And Jack is the founder of Atamira Dance Company. So not only is he the choreographer for the upcoming production of Mitimiti, he's also the founder of the group, which I'll get you to talk about in a minute. So Jack's has been developing quite an international reputation and connection in the last few years. He's had residencies in Hawaii, California, New Mexico. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think that's something else that we can bring into the conversation tonight. And before we get into the discussion of the production, I just would like to ask Jack a few questions about his journey as a dancer, a person who writes with movement, and a choreographer and a creator.
Sure.
Thank you.
Was that the question?
That was the question. Okay. Tell us that.
Okay. I was just thinking about just listening to your kōrero, and I think that dance is a way of listening. It's a way of finding and feeling space, and that's something that I've discovered, I guess, as the longer I've been in the dance form and looking at kind of what's activated, what's actually happening before you physicalize your body, what is actually happening in those spaces. The reason I say that is because I feel like I'm interested in layering together that as an expression of my Māoritanga. It's a way in which I've learnt to identify the activations of our language and our culture. So I'm interested in how we are immersed in our environments, how we're reading and feeling and sensing not just the walls, but everything that we bring with us. So I think really to maybe solidify this idea, I think whakapapa, or the many ways we can see whakapapa, the many ways we can see the things that we are, the things that we were, the things that are made up in and around us, both inside us and outside of us. I'm, as a travelling person, that's partly why I like to travel. I like to feel different things around me. I like to be exposed to expectations of I guess, cultural expectations of how people understand and resonate with space. And one of the key things for me is looking at the idea of protocol, which means a way of doing. In dance, we have many ways of doing. In the training that I had at Unitech, I was really, influenced by people like yourself, people like Shona and Douglas and Michael, who had travelled to the United States and then come back to New Zealand. So there was already this crisscross for me, learning how to move my body coming from another place. So these transferences of knowledge are certainly a part of the practice that I've been involved in, and it's taken a long gestation for me to kind of pull it apart. And I would say to go overseas and to think about what makes me Māori and a dancer. Those are the things that really intrigue me.
Okay. Just going back a bit to some of the things that you said, I wondered if you could articulate a little bit about that initial kind of awareness of your physicality, the cultural physicality that you that is you, and the meeting of these other ways of moving and other protocols, and how that then becomes what you develop.
I was just thinking of the word mana, like what I found through dance is that dimensionality I'm talking about as a way of looking at anything. So you look at a word, you look at a light, you look at like whatever it is, and you can, the searching, like the opening up and the searching of those things become the not point of interest, but it becomes a thing to go towards. So this kind of, again, there's that directionality. In terms of my dancing, it's quite interesting. I've been noticing something about myself is that I try not to show the dancers, but I try to fluff about as much as possible. So I try and kind of show them stuff in the space that I didn't do myself, and then see if they can sit into that and then make that happen.
Right.
And I get the feeling of it coming from the earth. I get the feeling of what haka can do from an earthed perspective that emanates outwards and then reads back to yourself. So I'm starting to enjoy that I've got lots of tricks up my something. I've got lots of different languages, you know, and I've steered away from some that I know quite well, but now I kind of feel like part of a maturation process is not to delineate between any of them, but actually to bring them all together and to shade it in different things.
One thing I want to ask you. One thing I forgot to say. If hopefully at the end we have time for questions. So if you have any questions that are percolating now, save them up. One thing that came up. I was talking to Stephen Shropshire when he was here with the New Zealand Dance Company, and he said something really interesting. And I wondered if it sounds to me the same. He says you never really arrived as a choreographer. Like the last piece you made is the last piece you made, and then that it's a constantly evolving point that you're never going to really reach.
Honestly, I feel like I just became a choreographer like yesterday. I really do, and that's because I started counting again. I don't like counts because I'm interested in continuum. I like the idea of continuum, and I think choreographing.
How do dancers feel about counts, though?
Oh, they love the counts.
Yeah.
They love it. They love the counts, and I love them, so I'm counting.
Okay.
And that's part of the trade-off, right? Like, if I can do that at them, then I can go like this as well. And then we just kind of do that to the counts, and it becomes kind of interesting.
And how does your composer feel about counts, then?
Ooh. Well, that's a really good point. We've been talking about a pulse, and he said to me, he goes, Jack, I don't think there's a pulse in Te Kore. And I said, well, there is in this one. And so we've been looking at these ideas of evolution, And I don't know, I keep going back to embedding and protocol. Like, I think that the protocol isn't to lose people, the protocol is to bring them in. So whatever you need to do to bring them in, and the way in which you can support the overall thing. And so we've been discussing different types of rhythms that you can't hear. And maybe it's all a trick. Maybe at the end we take away all the counts. Who knows? We've still got 2 more weeks. And what I notice is that that it's about building security. Like, I can really see that in order for the dancers to have full maximum expression, they kind of need to know a basic sort of thing. And then if you give them that, then they're actually wanting to go beyond that.
Yeah.
So before we get to that step of that beyond,
Yes.
we give them something to sort of make them feel like they're moving on their steps.
Sure.
There's this other thing I've been thinking about. I've been thinking about sports a lot. And I've been thinking about sports psychology and trying to be a winner. And how to get the most peak performance of something, psychologically, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. I think these are the things about dance that I aspire to, and I would say it's natural to me, but maybe it's not, I don't know, I can't tell. But what I want of other people who are part of that invocation, I have to find the ingredients that really hone it in, and it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and that person needs to hear this, that person needs to hear that, and I just kind of speak to the bigger picture. And then we've been working a lot with story, so I'm going on about a lot of things.
But that's good, actually, because I think maybe you could talk now a bit more specifically about this project, about the genesis of Mitimiti, and how this process is developing, and then we can bring your collaborators into the conversation.
Sounds good. Well, I think one of the main reasons why I'm interested in talking at the art gallery is just relating to the work of Ralph Hōtere and his beautiful paintings and my relationship to it. And everything that I'm sort of saying is just a way that I've learned to articulate how I feel about that work. I've always loved his open, dark, deep spaces. I found a connection to it. I found a way of looking at it and reading it in which I could feel myself. And so that was one of the reasons why I was like, I think that there's a possibility that we can turn that painting into a dance. And that was where my feelings about Atamira came from, a little bit. And so it's kind of like, again, there's lots of full circle journeys, but the main thing for me is that my whakapapa is to the same place that Ralph's comes from, which is Mitimiti. And so when I thought, okay, is there a blood and a cellular memory that's been activated by looking at these paintings? And that's what I've been pursuing for the last few years.
Right, okay. So, shall we talk about the process that you're going through with your collaborators? And
sure.
perhaps ask your collaborators to come up? Yeah?
Sounds good.
Okay,
yeah. So, we've got Ruth, who is working with what we call adornment, and we've got Vonda Karolczyk, who is a long-time collaborator of Atamira, and she's helping with perceiving the lighting concepts and other things, of course. The beautiful thing for me is that, and sorry, this is Francois, who's all the way from Montpellier, France, coming to work with us on this project as well, in the sound area. But it's been a really collaborative effort, this particular work. That's definitely the way I think you can release yourself from the responsibilities of trying to make it right. That's not what I'm interested in. What I'm interested in is that convergence of what is important, and they keep me on board and on track, and vice versa, so that's fun.
I was just thinking, sorry, should we show the clip, and then it might get a bit of a better idea about what you actually can then refer to. That'd be good. Thank you. So this is a clip in the rehearsal studio.
We're just doing basically some materials balance tests with the light versus the projector and see how much we can get away with shooting from either side.
I think it's really awesome. I'm enjoying the fact that we're actually physicalizing the ideas that we've been working on for the last maybe 6 weeks. So for me, I was thinking about what whakapapa is, how the source goes somewhere, goes through something else, and then it becomes a ripple later on.
When I think about that, I think about where I'm from, which is Henderson. Or my parents are from Holland, so it's ancestry, sense of place and sense of belonging that's Mitimiti.
You know, when I think about what I feel when I go back home to Mitimiti, and it has the same type of really taking it in, like soaking in the light, soaking in the ocean, and just really thinking about all those things, thinking about distance and space.
There's a definite energy there that you question whether you're in the here and now or that you're getting stuff from that happened a long time ago that radiates out from the area. So I'm quite excited to see what we come up with at the end of this journey.
So I'm just going to sit here for now. Are you sure? Yeah, that's all right. So I think what would be nice, maybe perhaps if you just each can talk a little bit about your involvement and how you're contributing to the overall feel of the work, yeah? The work itself and how that's interactions, you know, I think, you know, the interaction with the choreographer and collaborators, not everyone does that successfully. So it might be interesting to hear how that goes. So, Handa.
Kia ora. I'm doing the lighting. I've been actually involved in this project since about 2009, I think. Jack and I kind of birthed it together. We were having a couple of glasses of wine and I was saying, I've just been up to Mitimiti, and Jack's, why did you say that? He said, I just found out that's where I'm from. And I said, well, we should do a show about it. And that's kind of where that came from. And it's just been a place that's been near and dear to my heart since I've been in New Zealand. I've been here for over 15 years, but it was one of the first places I went to, and I just felt this sense of power coming from that place, and it just really engaged me as an artist. And so there's so many layers there, and then of course Ralph Hotry is one of my favorite painters. I just see so much depth in it, and anybody who's seen my lighting knows I like dark, and I like just the things that need to be seen, and the rest of it I don't care. And that's, you know, my big challenge with this piece is that I can't get side light in because the people are going to be in the way. But
we'll talk about that.
It's going to be. But it's, you know, we've been working on this in different installments now for several years, and this is the fourth sort of approach we've made to the show, and now it's grown in many layers from the original one. And yeah, as Jack says, we've got 2 weeks that we just have to pull the whole thing together now and make it all work for us all.
Kia ora. Kia ora, my name's Ruth, and I'm from the South Hokianga. So where my whānau land is, I sit there and I look at these beautiful sand dunes, and the one little light that you can see if you stand on the right angle of the Hokianga Harbour, and that's the one light of Mitimiti. And so when we connected through some other projects, and I was like, wow, I finally met someone that's from that place with the one light. I'm from the other side. I always look at you guys, but you're over there and we're over here, but actually we share the same harbour, we share the same stories, our names are reflective of each other. So that was our first sort of link and really hohongu to each other. That marriage really settled in there. I come from a traditional Māori weaving background. I've been doing that for quite some years, and pretty much all formulas, all materials, natural is what I do. And having the chance to be able to not so much make costume where these dancers are going to become actors, but rather to adorn them, to bring out that blood and that cellular level of themselves. That's where I'm excited, and that's what's drawn me, and that's been my light for this project. So I'm really lucky to get to work with an old friend from London town, Rosanna Raymond. So together we're designing the whakarakai, or the adornment, and the kakahu, which is really reflective of the stories they're telling as opposed to characters we want them to become, because they're already it, and they're doing this intense work with Jack and Dan in the studio, and so we're simply here to adorn these bodies to look as amazing as they can, while still being able to keep true to our forms and what I see the Hokianga heart is, which is raw and natural and full of richness in our natural environment, and letting that be what guides us. So yeah,
Can I ask a bit about your work on the bodies and how your work is interacting with the bodies?
Yeah, Atamira, and well, mainly these dancers are sort of, and Jack is my favourite person to dance, because I've never seen my adornments come to life until you put it on a real dancer, and they just, I'm going to strike a pose. I'm like, wow, I didn't know I could do that, but I knew I had the potential. But I stand there, or our models will stand there, and they just want to walk, and that's sort of the limit, because they look pretty. But when you find pretty people that can use their bodies as well, it's great. In saying that, they like to roll on the ground, touch each other. Some of our materials can become, almost deadly weapons, because they've always got a bigger story to what each piece of adornment can do. The heru for your hair was never just to keep your hair looking pretty, it was actually to adorn yourself and protect yourself. So if someone came too close, you'd simply pull it out, stab them through the ribs, and you're safe. That was our female assassins. They were the best products we had, but it was actually their beauty and their adornment that kept them safe. So
So has it altered what you envisaged originally that you would do?
It's definitely set some boundaries. Things like water always affect any kind of clothing, fabric, textile, whether it's natural or man-made. Weight, if those things are going to become heavy, can they get close? Can they jump in the air and then roll on the ground and go through a pool of water and still look amazing and fabulous? Which is always my end goal. You need to look amazing and fabulous. So it's definitely created some more like guidelines. So that was great, as opposed to going, we can do anything in the world. It's like, we can do anything within this range and make it look amazing.
Right. So Jack, you wanted to comment on...
I just wanted to say that yesterday we're working with these whips.
Some whips.
We're working with these whips, and Ruth made some up for us, and I didn't realise that they had wire inside them, and the wire kind of have little wire hooks, and so anyway we were choreographing this very complex wiring, unwiring dance, and then I told the dancers that they needed more energy, and of course they were holding the wires and they pulled, and someone was like, oh my god, and then she started bleeding, and then everyone was like, oh my god, and then I'm like, because the word Mitimiti comes from a story about killing, and Mitimiti means to lick blood, and I went, oh, it's perfect. I go, I love it. All right, great. Take a break, guys. And those types of things, like I'm like, it totally makes sense. A little pain never hurt anyone. This is exactly the storytelling.
I've got 2 weeks, we'll sort that out.
Yeah, and I'm like, Dan, get them some tape, Dan, get them some tape. But I mean, those little discoveries, that's the collaboration, because she makes something from my request, and then the dancers try, and then we all kind of figure out from literally our blood, sweat and tears what it's about. And I just wanted to add one more thing, just that my job is to choreograph something in a circle. It's like the 7-meter pool, in the middle of Q Theatre, and it's an audience are everywhere. So it's kind of the most interesting thing I've ever had to do, I'd say, because a circle in the middle of a square is a thing. It's like literally, I keep thinking the dancers are in the wrong places, but it's because where I'm moving they look weird. So when I worked
There
out
is
it was
no
me,
right
not
place.
them, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And so we're making all these pentagrams and all these types of things, and this type of like sacred geometry comes out of it. And then we're starting to evolve the language. We're like, so if we do a unison, it has to look like this. You have to face outwards to your clock, and you can't move in straight lines, and it's freaking fascinating. So yeah, I sort of thought today, yesterday was my day of deciding to be a choreographer, and today was my day of going, I'm going to always choreograph in a circle. Anyway, that's my thought.
Okay. And Francois, could you talk a little bit about your, the initial meeting with Jack and how this project came about for you?
So we met with Jack in Riverside, California, last year, like in the spring, and we were part of this Indigenous dance event, and so we had a very good connection. And at some point during the summer, Jack called me and that day I was like, I'd like to do something with Jack, and he called me, and it was the first in a series of connections that were so natural that it's a very special experience, like very nice, like going through ideas, and interestingly because we are living on the opposite side of the planet, which it's quite not that far if you go straight to the core of the planet, but it's still takes depending on and the connection that we could do was so natural, and there were some like ideas that Jack told me that I already had like a couple of, at some point just ago, and the same in the opposite side, and it kept going on. So basically the idea was that we would have a conversation on Skype.
Yeah.
Well, we pretty much didn't. We had just a couple of them, and pretty much everything was just another way. And then after that, we met in Hawaii. And,
For dinner.
because
We couldn't stop laughing.
yeah.
That was our work meeting. It's like flying to Hawaii for dinner.
We had one dinner. I was doing some footage too for the performance, and it was like, and it was like that kind of very dense moment. Like you don't say this word, intense, or I don't know, concentrated. You know, like a black hole. I don't know, something like
Centrifugal force.
It's interesting, like time that is like you take 1 month and you compress it into like a dinner. I love that. I love that, and it's and so the whole work about Mitimiti is about that for me. It's about how not only about Mitimiti, but in general the artistic work. But here precisely about the Mitimiti. So.
Can you talk about what it is you're contributing? What is your work? Because each of you are artists in your own right,
Yes.
all contributing something to this one work.
The idea is tectonic, precisely. Like it's about creating a space, and I think that the connection that we share with Jack is this. I think that this is probably why Jack asked me to come and to perform and to do this work. But then it's like, because this is pretty much what my goal as a sound designer and a composer. How can I build a space of sound? I'm not very much interested in music in the traditional sense of the word, like notes, rhythms, harmony and stuff. I'm more thinking of an environment, something that puts you, that allows a specific state of mind, and so opening new space, and you're entering somewhere and suddenly things are different. But it's not music, it's sound.
Sure. Okay. Did you want to add?
Oh, there's lots I want to add, but one thing that's been so cool is, and with everyone actually, we just kind of we're really oriented towards the creation process rather than the construction and the putting together and holding it in that place. Like we're open in that way. And so Francois just comes in and sits there, and only he listens to his music. So we don't get to hear it. We might hear it like maybe twice, and then we just carry on. And this is like, it's not, I don't want to say it's mad, but it's sort of, it's really about conduiting. Like I really feel like people are all doing their ways of looking, doing their ways of listening. And, you know, Vonda's sitting there taking notes, making notes, slipping me things to like consider, and whether it makes it literally into the work, I do consider everyone's kōrero. I really do. And they're telling me for a reason, them and plus them. So I just kind of keep listening. But last night I told them not to, because I was like, I want to have some sleep. So I could like be perky for the talk. You know, so I guess it's a negotiation. It's like, to be completely honest, it's a lived thing. This is a lived thing. It's a wānanga, it's a kaupapa, it's a driving force towards seeing where we can go.
Yeah.
Like,
but ultimately, it is a performance because it has to reach that point, like you said, in 2 weeks. Something has to be presented.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of ways to think about performance. I think that it's more about the solidity of the idea that we're holding, and again, it will go back to the space. Like one of the things that I'm curious about in Q is that we are in Auckland, you know, and we're presenting this work about a place very steeped in a lot of tradition and a lot of cultural stories, and a lot of most of our most ancient stories of discovery come from that area. And then it tracks back previously to that to the Greater Pacific and to Hawaii and all the places that I've been visiting. So it's the sense of like going places and then being somewhere and acknowledging what that is. So are we performing being New Zealand audiences? That's a question to me. What does that mean? What are you expecting? How can I present ourselves to you as yourself? These are some of the things I think Ralph's work is a reflection of that, you know. And so there's deeper ways of looking at the work than just the outside of it. But the outside of it is definitely acknowledged, and you know, we've got the timelines and production schedules to prove it.
Yeah.
But I think it's that logistical situation. You know, it is like, for me again, it's like the logistics is that we had that conversation. The logistics is that we met each other, that we met in Hawaii. Like these convergences are as much a part of the choreography as what I'm creating.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, I guess, you know, when we talk about dance, because every night of a performance will be absolutely different, you know. And if we're talking in comparison to visual art, where you have a one-on-one relationship with a piece, yes, it can be different every time you see it, an individual sees it, but the work itself is static. It's a static thing, whereas a dance is never static.
That's
and a
right.
performance is never the same.
That's right.
It's an interesting difference of experiencing art.
I'm wondering also about skills and quality, and how that's why I'm talking about peak performance, because there's certainly moments in our week where they do the dance the very best it could possibly ever be. Maybe it only happens once. And then maybe we spend the rest of our time trying to chase it back down again and go, let's get that bit where you ripped her skin. Come on, that was awesome. You know, and we're going to pull back from that, and we're going to go towards it, and we'll find something else. And it's just really about being a cool customer to like accept that as life. Like literally life is happening every day. Every rehearsal week I've been really mapping it, because we don't have very many. So it's like super pressure. You know, so I've been thinking a lot about absorbing, like how do we absorb it? And honestly, one of the things that I think is going to distinguish this work is the positivity. The positivity has been the thing, because when you're under pressure, what's the go-to? you know, and that's the question of the frickin' dance. So if we can't actually act in that way within ourselves, then we're not achieving it. And so for me, it goes
And
back.
that's the fundamental. That's the basis.
I think so. I think it's important because it comes back down to the mana. I feel like every single person has something amazing to offer, and it's about the time and the negotiation and the patience in order to let those things slot into place.
Yeah.
And so what we're creating is definitely live. Like the 4 nights, I'm really conceiving of it as like every audience to me is really important. Every audience will gather a different thing that we will play off.
Absolutely.
And there's moments that it totally fills me with dread. Like yesterday, I was freaking out, and today I'm not so much freaking out because that's the truth. Like I just keep thinking, what's the truth, you know, and what can I control, and what can't I control, and what is the opportunity, and then what feels right, and then we do the best we can.
It sounds like live.
Yeah.
I want to give people time to ask questions. I'm sure there are some questions for any of the artists sitting here. So does anyone have a question? I'm sure you do. Don't be shy. Yeah, too far.
Yeah. I was just wondering how much of it is going to be improv, if there is, because it sounded like you were talking about them reacting to the audience, and I was just wondering like how much was choreographed and how much of it is going to be
Yeah, my feeling is that it's super designed. Like there's kind of like 3 parts. The first, there's maybe 4 or 5 parts. There's 3 dance parts. The dance parts are clearly organised. But there's the bit where you guys come in and where you guys leave. And I'm also working on those bits. So it's not the bits of the dance where you walk in and you watch and you're like, oh, that was great, and then walk out. No, it's come in. Now what are we doing here? So we've got some plans, we've got some strategies. I'll show you this. This little thing was my first test of what I hope the audience will do in the show. So I tested it out with Martin Langton from the Art Gallery here, and basically I'm looking at this idea of collective resonance, how we walk into space and we can actually activate our own signature and our own story in and amongst everyone else's. And I think that there's a calming space that's about creating the frequency. So that's the thing I'm talking about. I'm like, how do we create a frequency? Because we're all coming in from totally different places, from totally different reasons. But my theory is that we're here for our reason, and we have to figure it out collectively without anyone telling you. So that's what we're trying to work out in our space, that you come in and you fall into my little trap. Yeah, so that's the kind of thing. I have no idea, but we've got ideas, because the thing is about, like I do want it to, I've got a couple of goals. One is that I want it to read internationally. And what I mean by that is that the notions and the protocols that we're using aren't specific to Māori. They're something else, so that anyone can do it. So the beautiful thing about this was we did a tester where we had just set up of this paper and crayons, and we chose specific colours to like match them in, and then we just had a durational period of time and let people organise themselves. And then what naturally happens is you start on your own track and then you start to merge. And then Martin was really helping me with the idea of blending. So I've actually been using this in the dance, using this track as a way of looking at the dance. And so it's embedded in the dance, but it's also embedded in the space that we're hoping to create with the audience. So we don't know yet, but we do know. Yes, yeah, makes sense. But now that I've given you a clue, you could help us out.
Yeah, totally.
about anything. Doesn't have to be dance related even.
Oh, good. It seems that you're talking about a lot of platforms where people can bring what they bring, mana, and energy, maybe what people bring to a space. And you're setting up these spaces where people collaborate. And I guess if I think of a Venn diagram, I guess it's understanding the circle of influence as well, and where each of you influence each other. I guess you as the choreographer or the interconnector between all those people must be quite a hard job to make sure everyone is understanding where they're crossing over and who they should be communicating with. Do you agree? I guess.
Yeah, I certainly do. I mean, I discovered that a lot in the United States. Like, a lot of, like, the main reason I went to the US is, or will continue to go, is to shift the way things are being perceived. And I think that there's a lot of great knowledge in our Indigenous cultures. And I think that the political aspects of those things can diminish what we can take from it. Or not take from it, but receive, you know. What can we learn about? Because the bigger thing, to be honest, is like we're so caught up in the people part of it that we're not actually going back to very, I wouldn't say it's basic, but it is something that requires a little digging into, which is how we're ecologically thinking, how we are thinking across the relationships of cycles with the planets, with the moon, with, like, you know, there's a lot of different knowledge that can lie at an intersection. And so those things, because already the theatre space is a certain space that has a great expectation, you know, and so I'm juggling all these expectations and thinking about what those things are and going back to the core of what whakapapa is. But also another thing is I'm interested in generating a new space so that Mitimiti itself it's a place, and it is in this instance a dance, a performance, and bringing those notions together. Like, I'm not interested in a depiction of that thing that has no relevance. It has to be in a connection, because that's the challenge. Like, that's the integrity, that's the thing. So, you know, part of what we've done is that in the process, the dancers have gone up. Oh, wait, I'll show you something. So this little thing is my worker's hat. Mitimiti on the grid, and when I went to Marae DIY, we had to wear these. So I went to, you know, we went up and we went and rebuilt our wharenui, which I think has been probably one of the most healing things. I think that I wouldn't be making this dance if I didn't do that. I wouldn't understand the transformation if I never participated in doing so. And the incredible thing is, like, the physical aspect, which is the outward, externalized marae, but it was more the feeling that people could return. That was the main thing. People just wanted to return. So I'm curious about that. I'm like, what is this idea of people returning? Returning to what? What are they returning to? So in the dance, we're talking about these things. I'm not going to tell too much because you should come. But there's certainly a huge emphasis on forms. Earth forms, ether forms, water forms, tree forms, different elemental aspects. And I've been interested because in the United States, people can say to me, they're like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. What is all that stuff? You know, and those are the things, that's the opportunity I see here in Aotearoa. I think that we're closer to understanding because of the way that we are a nation and the way that we're participating in the dialogues through multiple cultural ways of looking. So it's about that. I'm just like, just open up to another way. It's not a definitive. Everything's we're peeking into it, peering into it, and hopefully people are going to feel connected. I do want them to feel connected, but I can't help it if it alienates them. I can't help that. But my goal is to bring things together.
Did he answer your question?
Yeah.
I can answer his question. Jack influences all of us. But being the beautiful words he says, I need to relate that when I hear it to my own experiences. So I hear what he says, I process it differently, like how I approach my artwork. Everyone's like, what is that thing? I'm like, can't you see? It's the thing. No, what's the thing? You'll see when it becomes a thing. So Jack's influence is always suggestive and ideas, but then as individual artists, because we are so, I suppose, strong in our own art forms, we're interpreting what he said when we've mashed them with our own experiences. So what comes out is always due to both of us. We're like, wow, that was awesome, let's do that again.
Yeah.
So the probably the seed comes from Jack, but then, we talk about certain materials, I'm like, that's great. That's a bought material, I haven't used that. Hang on, I need to Google it, and I need to find the whakapapa, and I need to see the whole history of where this material or textiles come from, how it's used, what is its own protocols. And yeah, okay, I'm comfortable enough to use it. We're all looking for our own links. So he plants the seeds, and then we're finding our own links to those seeds, and then kind of recreating it in our own art forms, whether it be the lighting, the amazing AV that's coming out from Lisa Reihan. I mean, she had an amazing exhibition here. So Jack says, Jack's words with his, and then Lisa's finding her own links that translates to her art form, and then it comes out as a byproduct as both of us. And whichever setting it is, Francois headed up to Mitimiti itself, so you could actually hear the water and see the landscape and capture that. So he's finding his own links as opposed to, Google said the beach sounds like this. He's gone there and he's felt it, and it's finding his own links from the seeds that Jack so generously planted amongst all of us. So
I was just
you've always been a big influence.
I was just thinking about committing to the journey. Like, it's just about committing to the journey. And I speak and I say everything that I say because I'm completely committed to my words and the way I live my life and what I really want to get across. But yeah, exactly what you said. It's like, I can't speak for you, and I can't speak for the dancers, and I can't speak for the audience, but I'm going to try to work in that space of endeavouring, because I think that's what we all need to do. I do think that, as just to make a statement. I'm like, what could the world be like? What could it be like if we started listening and really endeavouring to step past those boundaries? And what are the boundaries? First of all, recognising that there's boundaries. What are the boundaries? And are the boundaries put there by yourself? Or are the boundaries put there by other things? And are those things important? There's so much to consider. So I kind of honestly feel like that this project is leading to this moment. Like, it's definitely a moment, and it's a great moment. I can't wait for it to happen. I honestly can't, because then once it's done, then I don't have to think about that for a second, and I can drink some margaritas and stuff like that. That'd be cool. It's definitely what I'm looking forward to. But I can see we're building a way. We're building a way that we can continue to go back to. Not for the sake of the dance or the show, but for the sake of ourselves, for the sake of our thoughts, for the sake of our knowledge making, for the sake of my body, for the sake of my family, blah, 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 blah. So many things. It's like, what's the frickin' meaning of life? Like, you have to do something. You have to do something. So you may as well put everything into this something, and then until you find the next something. And
it's been, this process has just been a sort of a collaborative dream for us that like to collaborate, because everybody's coming. Lisa's like, I haven't done a theatre show before. You guys will have to tell me what to do. And then it's sort of working her way of working and attacking things with the way somebody like myself or John Wright. John Wright's like, yep, that's how it's going to look. I'm like, well, John, actually, no, it's going to go like this because this is how we need it to look. And then John's now, it's like his new lease on life. He's just jumping around and doing all this stuff because he's now in the moment with the rest of us. So whereas the old John would have said, no, that's going like that. Now Jack's going, actually, that's not going to happen until later on. John's like, okay, well, we could do this and we could do that. So everybody is now, we're all sort of rolling together because we found our sort of way of working as a team. And we also have found our sort of tempo as a group to work forward. So, and it's very interesting because we pull every now and then. We need something that has to ground us. So I found this little tiny film about the stream that goes under the Q Theatre, and was like, that's what we needed. I said, like, guys, I sent it all out to everybody, and everybody was like, the dancers, everybody got this, and that now we have to now ground ourselves in the space when we get there, and we know the water again is anchoring us from below, because that's what we've been anchored by throughout this whole process.
Of course, that was I'm glad you mentioned the dancers, Wanda, and you did too, Jack, but we haven't mentioned the dancers at all.
Okay.
And obviously they're an incredible, important component of this.
Certainly are.
So I wondered if you could just briefly mention the dancers,
Yeah.
who they are,
Yes,
and
okay.
what they're bringing to you.
So we have three what we call tuakana women. So they've been with the company for a couple of years, like 6 years plus. So that's Bianca Hislop, Nancy Weejohn, and Gabby Thomas, and we're very blessed to have them. And then we've got two Taina. Well, we've got three Taina, so three younger. Two are men, Arahi Easton and Machu Hamuera. And then we've got a Unitec intern her name's Jasmine Kinwell. She's actually French Canadian, and she just came with such a spirit of lightness and a spirit of just thinking that, you know, what we're on is a good buzz. She's like, this is good. You should all come in. I wish we prayed every day. I wish we sang songs every day like you guys do. And you guys are cool. You guys treat each other like a family. And she goes, that's not the way that I've seen dance happen before. And those things kind of influence us, because that's what I mean about New Zealand. You don't know what you've got until you go away. You don't know what the air tastes like. You don't know how green it is. And those are the things that I really want people to, I want them to be replenished by that, because I feel like, anyway, go back to the dancers. They are awesome. They are awesome, and they're so, yeah, I mean, it's a type of awesome to walk into someone's world and to give it everything you've got. It's like, I'm so stunned by them. And the negotiation process, again, because there's a certain respect that you have to have for their creativity and for the amount that they can put in their head. And then there's also a certain kind of toughness that they require for you to have so that they push on through. And I just keep pushing them every day, because I say, look, I'd rather push you now than like be easy now and then we freak the fuck out at the very end. I don't want that to happen. I want them to like do the opposite. I want them to be so sunken into their joints and their bones and their knowing, and then like coming at us. Like, that's going to be really rewarding. And
Are we allowed to mention special guests?
oh yes, we've got special guests. We do. That's a good idea. Yes, we've got special guests. We've got Frances Rings from Atamira Dance Theatre from Australia. She's coming to support and mentor the process, and she's, you know, it's about bringing those lineages together. The Aboriginal culture is one of the oldest civilizations in the world, and to have someone who can dance, that is really important to have in the room. So it's just acknowledging her. And then we've got Tairoa Royal, who is Thai and amazing, and he's a backbone, and he's been a part of the journey. He was with us in the first parts of our explorations before he went off and did super awesome things with Ōkarika. But he's come back to, but that's what I'm saying about returning. Everyone needs to come back. And he said to me the other day, you know, he's like, I feel the Hokianga calling again. And those things, these are the things that in the dancers, they're not here for a job. Of course, it's great that we pay them. I feel like I live the life of a dancer, you know. It's like these things are so on the cutting edge of like what we're trying to do, and the amount of resources that we're given. You know, we have to count our lucky blessings all the time, but it's tough. And so I emphasize the love for them, but also emphasize that, you know, if you've got to be tough, let's do it. Let's do it together. And so yeah, they're gonna rock it. They are so gonna rock it, honestly. I love them.
Good. I think we probably should wind this up.
Yeah.
Shelby needs to get home as well. If there's any, yes, Kerry Ray, question.
Do you have any plans to perform this in Mitimiti?
I love that question. Yeah, I really want to perform it there. I think, oh gosh, wait. I just saw sand dunes. Hang on.
Let's add sand into the water.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a better idea. What I want to perform, what I want to do there is do a hokianga wharetapere. I want to go up there. A wharetapere is a Ruth?
Wharetapere is a space that's created that has no walls and no boundaries, but once you enter the gates, you need to leave behind all your take, any bags, or the only way you can enter, and it's the only space that everybody can enter safely, is that you need to come full of joy and looking to find ecstasy. So this is where you would come to play, this is where you would do games. If you've got bad troubles or days, you leave all of that at the gate and you enter this space. But you go through so many ways, and dance is definitely a big part of the wharetapere, because I've never seen a grumpy or a sad dancer. If you're dancing for yourself, you're doing it to perk yourself up. You know, you might have started off like, oh, I'm feeling a bit down, but I'm just going to turn the radio up and I'm at home by myself, or I'm in the shower, I'm just going to have a boogie because I can. It's to find that lightness, and that's what the wharetapere is. It's the house of play, but also of light and positivity.
Yeah, so there's like two answers. One answer is that they're coming to see us, which is like, that's a dream come true, actually. A dream come true, yeah.
Are you saying that people from Mitimiti are coming down?
They are coming down. The kiddies are coming down, the old people are coming down. It's gonna be a new experience, like, and that's what I'm so excited about. I'm like, how wonderful that my life is to give an experience that's new for those people, and they've kept me honest, because I'm like, I don't want to fuck it up. I don't want to make a dance where they're like, what the hell is that weirdo bloody avant-garde stuff? We should have stayed home. You know, so I'm like, okay, how do we do it so they're gonna feel like that was worth the trip? That was, he's not, you know, that wasn't insulting. I hope that it's educating and enlightening, not just for them but for everybody. So those are the things. That's what I'm talking about. Like, those exciting things are a very new experience for us. And then we definitely want to go up, and I see my future going up there, because this is about opening doors, as you say. Like, there's certain things that have closed doors in the past, and I think this period of time is about opening doors. And so this is all about opening a door in many ways, many directions. Definitely global, definitely local, definitely amongst ourselves.
Oh, no, we will open the door so that we can take it. So thank you very much,
Awesome.
everyone.
Thanks, Marianne.
Thank you, and please take it.